The Conservative Party's Deputy Chairman for Women, Rachel McLean, was reported to police after calling an aspiring Green MP a man with a wig. She retweeted something and added a comment to it. She said she will continue to speak up for women. Well, Rachel is with me now. You're very welcome to talkTV this morning. Rachel, how are you?
Hello. Hi, I'm good, thank you, Peter. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. My understanding is you retweeted this tweet and you added a comment of your own. Why did you do so?
Yes, I did, because I think it's important to be able to talk about facts in this debate. And I think for women, and also particularly for lesbians, who have sometimes been shouted down and bullied for telling the truth, I think somebody has to stand up for them. And I am the deputy chair of the party for women. So I start from the premise that we must be able to define what a woman is. And I think there is an associated issue about the gender and self-ID ideology and approach that is espoused by the Greens in particular, which is very concerning and worrying to a lot of people in the country. And that is why I made the stand that I did.
Okay, so on this message it said that Melissa Poulton, as this person calls themselves because they're calling themselves a woman, the tweet described them as a man who wears a wig and calls himself a proud lesbian. Is that, I mean, what has that got to do with whether Melissa Poulton would be a good MP or not?
So I want to be very clear that I don't believe in campaigning on personal attacks. So I have no desire.
Isn't that a pretty personal attack, Rachel?
Cast any personal aspersions on this. No, it's not. And as you know, I did apologise for the offence I caused to that individual, because I don't want to attack anybody personally. But I am very keen, and I think it's important I draw attention to the wider issues in this debate, and they are the Green Party's policies on self-ID, and so also the way that the negative.
What are they? Sorry to interrupt you, Rachel. What are the Green Party saying, and why do you disagree with them? I should say that Ms. Poulton has described your retweet and your comment as childish games from a government party who's going to be out of office.
Yes, and I'm aware of those comments. So the Green Party's policies on self-ID are policies that have been found to be non-lawful in Scotland. You'll have seen that the way that the Green Party and coalition in Scotland have tried to introduce a series of steps towards basically a self-ID policy where anybody can identify as the opposite gender, and they can do so without any kind of medical safeguarding or medical process or any kind of checks from the statutory authorities. And that has now been overturned in the Scottish courts thanks to interventions from the British government. But that is the sort of thing that the Greens stand for. And they also have very concerning policies about this issue for young people. They believe that the current safeguards we have are wrong, and they want to do more and make it easier for young people to change gender or identify as a different gender. And I think that parents and people across the UK find it very difficult to talk about these issues. Can I say it's really important that we start from a process of fully respecting anybody, and I don't mind if somebody wants to identify as a woman.
Rachel, sorry to interrupt. Do you feel you fully respected your opponent by retweeting that? Do you feel anybody would feel fully respected by being described in that way?
So I don't mind if a man wants to identify as a woman.
They might not feel respected.
So a man can identify as a woman, or a man can be identified as a transgender woman, but a man cannot be a woman. There are two different things.
I agree with that, but you talk about respect there. But Rachel, in fairness, we're not. I think we agree on most of that. But you're talking about respecting your opponents. Was this something you did and you thought, well, I'll retweet this, that'll show my respect for my opponent?
So I wanted to draw attention to the broader issues, and that is what I have done. And I don't resile from any of that, which is why I'm very happy to come on your programme and speak about it. The issues are much broader than this opponent, and that's why I was clear that, yes, I am very happy for any of my political opponents to be any gender or be transgender. It doesn't matter, but I'm not going to stand aside quietly and be bullied into saying that a man can be a woman. A man cannot be a woman, and a man cannot be a lesbian.
Well, that is factual. That is factual, and I agree with you on that. You have been called transphobic. What do you make of that criticism?
It's wrong. It's not transphobic. And the laws of the land protect my freedom of speech to be able to say there is a difference between a woman and a trans woman. There is a difference. There is also a difference between a queer woman and a man who would like to identify as a woman. These things are different. They are different biological categories. And we must not be afraid of saying that, because actually people in this country are looking at this and thinking this is madness. This is absolute madness. And they want someone to come out and say that this is madness. We all understand that there are transgender people, and we respect them, and they are protected under the laws of the country, under the Equalities Act. But by the same token, I must be respected by transgender people, by men, by biological men, and I must not be bullied into saying that there is a difference between
No, I don't
an
think you should be.
individual who is a man.
I don't think you should be
and
bullied at
somebody
all.
who
I
wants
think.
to be and somebody who wants to be a woman. If someone wants to be a woman, that there are pathways for them to do that, but they cannot come out and say, I am a woman. That is the difference that we need to be clear on.
And I totally respect your right for that and for free speech.
Thank you.
Let me just ask you one more thing, Rachel, before you go. Sorry, go ahead and I'll ask you another question.
If I may, Peter.
Yeah.
And what's been quite concerning about this incident for me is that I've received absolutely overwhelming support from the silent majority of women, not only in Redditch but elsewhere. But the person that has basically jumped on this bandwagon and also bullied me is the local Labour leader, another man.
Well, I'm sure he would deny that. We just got to be really, Rachel, sorry to stop you, just got to be really, really careful about the kind of allegations we're making about people. I just want to make you ask, and I'm sure he would deny that, I just want to make ask you one more question. I mean, you have a majority of 16,036 in Redditch in your constituency. The Green Party is not going to put much of a dent in this. Why bother attacking your opponent on this?
Because these are important. Obviously, when I go and talk to voters and constituents, I talk about a whole range of issues. But I thought it was important to make a stand on this because no other political party is doing so, because they've all been, if you like, captured by some of these ideas that a man can turn into a woman overnight. That is not possible to happen.
Okay.
It is not scientific fact. I am interested in scientific fact and biological reality, and I won't stop standing up for that, because women in this country and young children and families rely on someone speaking the truth.
Okay, Rachel McLean, thank you very, very much indeed for your thoughts on that. Was Rachel McLean there, the MP for Redditch, who is also the Deputy Chairman for Women of the Conservative Party. Richard Parsaid, you're about to jump out of your chair at points of that interview. Tell me your thoughts on this.
I mean, I wish you'd kept her on so I could have given her a piece of my mind. I mean, like, talking about how she's been bullied when she, as an MP, as a chairman of the Conservative Party...
Deputy Chairman.
I mean, they're all the same. Lee Anderson's a deputy
chairman. That's right.
Yeah, Lee Anderson, the guy who takes photographs of himself with Nazis. Great. What a wonderful load
Richard,
of people.
can you just be really careful the kind of allegations you're making?
Sorry, somebody else took a photo of him
we just want to be really careful what we say about people. I'm sure Lee Anderson would not be happy with that comment. Tell me what you think about Rachel McLean. That's what we're talking about.
So she says that she's been bullied. This is the very senior Tory MP who starts saying incredibly nasty things about vulnerable people in public, and she says she's been bullied. She talks about freedom of speech, and then she says, oh, other people can't say this, other people can't say that. She literally used the phrase, they can't say that. She says
her argument would be, and Rachel's going to come back in a second and you can talk to her because she stayed on the line very kindly, but I mean, she's saying that, she's not saying you can't say something.
She literally used that phrase.
Okay, she used the phrase, but what she means, I'll let Rachel speak for herself in a second when we get her back. But what I think, Rachel, you're back with is what I think you meant in that I can say black is white. I can say this cup that I'm holding up that is blue is actually red. But in terms of it being factually accurate, I think that's the point Rachel was making. Is that the point you're making, Rachel?
Yes, I think I heard most of that. I'm just talking about the facts and biological reality.
And what do you make of what you heard of what Richard said? If you didn't hear it, he can repeat it.
I don't agree it's nasty, and I think I have the right to say it, and I will continue to say it, even if people don't like hearing it.
Okay, Richard?
You've absolutely got the right to say it, Rachel, and I think that it's completely inappropriate for people to get the police involved. I'm very clear on that. But you're in a really senior position politically and in your community, and you decided to endorse and add your own comments to this really nasty treatment of an actually quite vulnerable public figure. And the thing is that most people in this country, like, people have got different views on trans rights. Because all trans people are vulnerable in this country.
All trans people are vulnerable?
All trans people are
vulnerable. How do you know that?
In this country. Because if you're a trans person in this country and you get onto a bus, you're probably going to end up getting shammed.
Doesn't mean they're vulnerable.
sounds pretty vulnerable to me.
I don't think so. I think people can be very, very strong. I don't think you can make sweeping generalisations about these things, Richard.
I didn't say that they're not strong individually. I'm saying
You're
that
they're vulnerable.
I'm saying they're vulnerable to
You're saying we should feel sympathetic for people simply because of their identity. That's identity politics.
If an MP is able to go out there, be incredibly nasty to this person, and then say, "Oh, but I was bullied." No, I'm going to say one last point.
One last thing,
Rachel. You're the chairman for women in the Conservative Party. Women are much more likely than men to support trans rights in this country. That's YouGov polling from April this year. Shouldn't you be supporting trans rights?
I do support trans rights.
Doesn't sound like it. You called her, I'm not even going to repeat it, a really nasty thing. That's not somebody who supports trans rights. That's somebody who thinks that it's fun.
Let Rachel speak. Let Rachel speak, please, Richard. Rachel.
I do support trans rights. I support trans rights, and I've been clear about that in everything that I've written.
And trans rights, but not for this one person who's not even a political threat to you and just being really publicly nasty to them. You're making...
OK, Richard, final word to Rachel, then we're going to move on. Rachel, final word to you.
No, I don't accept that at all. I support trans rights. I support the rights of my opponents to identify as a different gender, but I don't support the right of any man to say that he is a queer woman. OK, thank you, Rachel McLean. I don't think Rachel and Richard are going to agree. Thank you to Sophia.